You've probably heard it 1,000 times. A narcissist's biggest fear is losing you, that they just fall apart the second you walk out the door. But honestly, that's not the whole story. Not even close. There is a much, much darker, more primal terror that drives everything they do. And in this explainer, we are going to pull back the curtain and see exactly what that is.
So what is it? What's the one thing they've spent this entire relationship distracting you from, hiding behind all that chaos and deception? It's a very specific realization, a truth that, if you ever really grasped it, would cause their entire world, all their power, to just dissolve. Because here's the absolute truth. Their fear isn't about losing you as a person. That completely misses the point. Their real terror is something so much more fundamental. It's about who you are at your very core. Okay, let's just get right to it. The source material is crystal clear on this. Their greatest fear is you. Not your absence, but your presence. It's your strength, your energy, and this incredible power you have that they can only ever try to imitate. They are absolutely terrified you might find out just how powerful you really, truly are. So to really get this, we have to rewind all the way to the beginning. Why did they pick you in the first place? And this is the part you really have to grasp. Their attraction was never emotional. It was 100% transactional. In their world, you see, relationships aren't about connection. They're about what they can get out of you. The psychologist Carl Jung had this great concept he called libido. Now, he didn't just mean sex drive. He was talking about the raw, psychic energy of life itself, your creativity, your will, your vitality. And you have this in spades. So when they first met you, they didn't see a person to connect with. They saw a resource, a bright, shining source of energy to fuel their own deep emptiness. And this really breaks it down perfectly. On one side, you've got a healthy connection, right? It's built on growing together. But for a narcissist, it's the total opposite. It's not a partnership, it's a transaction. You're not a partner to them. You're a battery to power up their fantasy of being important, and that's it. Jung also talked about the persona, which is basically the social mask we all wear. For most of us, there's a real, authentic person behind the mask. But for the narcissist, the mask is all there is. There's nothing underneath. And they chose you because your qualities, your reputation, your talent, your stability made their mask look better. You were basically a high-end accessory for their public image. So this brings us to a really critical turning point in the whole dynamic. At first, they were drawn to your strength. They admired it. But that admiration very quickly curdles into fear. The exact thing that drew them to you in the first place now becomes a massive threat because it shines a spotlight on their own emptiness. And this is where another one of Jung's ideas, the shadow, comes into play. The shadow is that repressed, darker side we all have. For the narcissist, your genuine strength triggers what's called their power shadow, this deep, gnawing feeling of inferiority. And this creates an almost animalistic instinct to bring you down to their level. So it always follows this predictable pattern. Step 1, they admire your power. Step 2, they start to fear it because it exposes them for what they are. And that leads to step 3. They have to begin this quiet, deliberate mission of dismantling your self-worth because there is no way they can dominate you while you're standing in your full power. So how do they do it? How do they pull this off? Well, they use a very specific weapon, one that's designed to erode your reality from the inside out. Their number one strategy is the weaponization of doubt. You may have noticed this really strange pattern. It feels like no matter what you say, they just have to take the other side. This isn't just them having a different opinion. It is a calculated psychological strategy, and its only purpose is to invalidate your internal reality. Just think about it for a second. You say you like a movie, they'll tell you why it's actually terrible. You state a simple fact, they'll argue about the details. They'll deny saying something you clearly 100% remember them saying. By just constantly disagreeing with you, they stop your reality from ever feeling stable, forcing you to question your own mind, your own judgment. And this usually goes hand in hand with projection. They're essentially taking all their own worst qualities and forcing you to carry them. They'll call you needy or too emotional or dishonest, when in reality, they're the ones who can't stand to be alone. You're kept so busy just defending yourself against these false accusations that you forget you have the integrity they could only dream of.
All right, this next part is one of the most twisted and most important pieces of the puzzle. A narcissist doesn't attack you at your weakest points. They attack you at your strongest, and you have to ask why. Because your best qualities, your greatest strengths, are the only real barriers to their control. And just look at how this works. Your generosity gets reframed as you being naive. Your competence is totally ignored, but if you forget one tiny thing, suddenly you're incapable. They'll push and provoke you until you finally react, and then they'll turn around and call you out of control. It's this systematic twisting of your virtues into flaws. The goal here is brutally simple. A person who is secure in their own identity is impossible to control. So they have to dismantle those core strengths piece by piece, making you dependent on their version of who you are. But here's the beautiful thing. This kind of suppression, this constant pressure, can't last forever. The human psyche is a self-regulating system. Eventually, it pushes back. And that leads to the final stage, the awakening, where the whole illusion just shatters and your power is reclaimed.
Jung had a really powerful word for this, enantiodromia. It sounds complicated, but it's a simple idea. Any force that's suppressed too far will eventually, inevitably, flip into its opposite. The victim becomes the victor. The person who is confused finds absolute clarity. This isn't just you changing your mind. It's like a law of psychological physics. It's a restoration of balance that they are completely powerless to stop. And this awakening, this big moment of clarity, is built on one single, foundational truth that just dismantles their entire house of cards. The greatest lie they ever told you wasn't that they loved you. It was that you were their equal.
You are not equal to them. You are superior. Superior in empathy, in integrity, in life force, in authenticity. And here is the absolute kicker. They have known this from the moment they met you. That awareness is the secret sauce of their fear, and it's the engine that has been driving their entire campaign against you all along. Once you really, truly understand this, everything changes. You suddenly see that their constant arguments weren't a sign of their strength, but of their terror. Their aggression was just fear wearing a mask. Their desperate need for control was just desperation in disguise. They weren't fighting some weak person. They were fighting a powerhouse, and they knew it. You see, the nightmare doesn't end when they change. It ends when you wake up. You were never the victim. You were always the threat. Your strength was never, ever the problem. It was the one thing that could expose them. And so the final question isn't about them at all. It's about you. What are you going to build with all that power now?